So lastly, I want to talk about the other side of New Hollywood. And just like the bikers in Easy Rider meeting resistance on their journeys to escape the cultural norms of America, so did New Hollywood. New Hollywood itself and this new direction of Hollywood faced its obstacles and was met with extreme resistance, with strong conservative backlashes in Hollywood and with conservative culture throughout America in the late 50s, 60s, and 70s, where you see still a domination of conservatism in Hollywood, in society, that's backlashing and pushing against this counterculture of American ideals, counterculture of this new Hollywood movement, and putting out movies of their own to counter that. So in the 60s and 70s, you see conservatives in Hollywood on the defensive, no longer leading the role of way Hollywood is going in the 60s and 70s, but on the defensive and trying to defend their values. And you see the insurgents, liberals and insurgent radical social forces in society playing the role with all these made movies and theater, but then at the same time you have the conservative backlash. You have these movies that are coming out in response to those movies, in response to those ideas. So this is the era also, with New Hollywood, is also the era of reinforcing new Westerns. If you look at what we talked about a couple weeks ago with the Cold War Westerns and Westerns in the 70s, that's the zenith of the Western genre, is the 70s. And a lot of that is pushing conservative values. And people, same audiences, people could love The Graduate and love Harold and Maude and love Easy Rider, but then also love these very conservative westerns. So Hollywood is playing with this and going back and forth and fighting, clashing with each other, but maybe the audience doesn't know that's going on. But it's something that's very prevalent in this time period. This is the era of Dirty Harry that came out in 1971, right? So Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry, make my day, punk, you know? And of course the punk is that new Hollywood culture. The punk is everything against threatening the conservative culture. He himself is the establishment, but he's going rogue, and he's doing what he needs to do to protect that value system. And that is Dirty Harry. So check out this clip. So for the 1960s and 70s, New Hollywood is very much the focus, but you get two different movements. You get two sides of the same coin. On one side, you get revolution and alienation, represented in New Hollywood and the movements of the 60s and 70s. But on the same token, but on the other side, you get the conservative counter-revolution. So it's a different revolution altogether to preserve and to change what conservatism looks like. And that's going to win out in the 1980s. Conservative values and business and different ways is going to be the norm in the 80s. But it's fighting against this other revolution of alienation revolution, of against neoconservatism, as against neo-imperialism, against ideas that they see as archaic, but still being supported on the conservative side. So, you know, conservative liberals, that's something that we see a lot in today's world. We see a lot of it in the middle of Trump politics, in the middle of what's going on in the world today. In the 60s and 70s, strong as well. So you have on one side a very conservative token, a very liberal token. Hollywood's doing the same thing. And movies are coming out to try to convince the audience one way or the other to do this. Now we're going into a theater to buy. We're not going into movie theaters to say, hey, you know, I want to watch that movie. That has got a wonderful conservative undertone to it. That sounds good. Or that's a good movie. I'm going to go watch that movie. It's really showing against American values that are so archaic now. No, people are going in because it's entertaining. You go in because it looks good. It's something interesting in that film. But under that, these are the values that people are walking out looking at and thinking about. And the movie makers are trying to sway the audience in one way or the other. So there's a conflict that goes on in the 60s and 70s. There's a conflict going on today in the 21st century. How much of it's the same, how much is different is up to you, but it's something to think about as we're looking at this week's module number 5, New Hollywood.
I know what you're thinking, Punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? And to tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement. But being this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and will blow your head clean off, you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?